Yeah.
It's Sunday night, 9 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. And man, talk about cutting it close. I literally just stepped off the plane 25 minutes ago. Just got out of a cab. I still have my jacket on. I'm out of breath. I made it. Guys, how you doing?
Doing good.
What's up, Gary? What's going on?
I have Pat here. Yep, we're so worried about getting this on for you, man. We got Pat here as my backup to get this thing rolling. And, I appreciate it. Thank you, Pat. Thank you so much.
You can work on those teleportation skills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, hey, we can't have everything, right? We made it. We made it. From San Diego to
weekend of lacrosse, though.
Oof. It was a busy weekend for all of us. I know I had a lot of
movement at the bottom.
Absolutely. Just to introduce us all, on the top screen here, I've got Pat Bernard. Welcome, Pat. How you doing?
Listen, it's been exciting, especially here in Philadelphia. We actually got our first ever home win. I'm shocked. I'm rubbing my eyeballs.
Pop the champagne.
I'm popping. I'm ready to do cartwheels, and dude, I'm doing. Yeah, it's about time. It's called Seeking Revenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes.
How you doing, Shawn?
Very good here, thanks.
Hey, Saskatchewan won too, so like.
I know, great. I'm good with that too.
Lined up in a row here. Toronto won 2 this weekend, and I got Muffler Mike Kostiuk over in Connecticut, and Albany won. So everybody is a happy camper here.
The winner.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. It's great to be back. Man, I had a great time over there. And, I met up with a colleague of ours, Ross McLaughlin, and his family, and they were awesome. They were incredible. They took me through I was at the watch party for the San Diego Seals against the Panther City team on the Friday night, and they were tremendous. Quinn, who, if you look at his numbers, man, he is going to be a hell of a goalie. 5'10" now, man. That kid's a big kid. So, and he's got his footwork working for him and all the rest of it. And Ross's wife, Dear, and Ross was spectacular, man. What a great guy. If you're ever in this San Diego area, Ross will give you a shirt off his back. He's just tremendous. So, just a great time. And the watch party was amazing. The Seals did it up real nice. A lot of people there, and a nice craft brewing place. And we're drinking Salty's beer, and of course their mascot, of course, is Salty. So it is a San Diego Seals beer. So it was a real cool evening. So it was awesome. And then, of course, I made it back to the hotel to catch the second half of the Rock Vegas game because it was on ESPNU, even though my ESPN on my phone wasn't working and my TSN obviously didn't work in the U.S. And so I was thinking, oh my, I got to do this through Twitter. No, I was able to catch the game. So woohoo, there you go. More good news. And then the game on Saturday, man, we'll get into the game itself, but the whole ops, man. And again, Ross and the San Diego Seals people, after I went and got credentials, I met up with them and tailgated with them for a while before going back in and, doing my stuff over by the dressing rooms and things like that and getting all the media stuff together. So it was really a cool time. And again, really, really great people. And the fan base, really, really great people. And, same thing with Vegas. They treated the roadie guys really, really great. So, I got nothing but good things to say about all of these people. Anyways, before we get rolling, let me just get through with some of the show stuff, and then we'll get going with everything. It's going to be a little bit of an abbreviated show. We're going to do NLL tonight, guys. We got 2,000 games to do there, and that should be about enough. That time will be dry, and then maybe I can go fall down because I'm 3 time zones and, all kinds of wonderful things. Anyways, episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also Twitch. And you can catch all the action on EOPsports.com. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share with your friends. Please enjoy all of our affiliates. As you can see, we got shows aplenty. And of course, Pat, my favorite show on this lot, Steel Steps. Absolutely.
Listen, Steel Steps is running right after this. We're doing an AEW pay-per-view post-game show. So if you guys are late, want to hang out, want to talk some wrestling, go check out Steel Steps tonight right here on Edge of Philly Sports.
Awesome. And if you've missed a show, no worries, because you can grab all the podcasts and all the major podcasting companies, which include Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, and so much more. You can also go to the EOP YouTube page and catch any of the shows there. Plus, if you're looking for our shows, you can go to the All Across All the Time YouTube page, and you can catch our entire library there as well. I put up some more retro games during the week. I'm still working on the Philadelphia, New Jersey one. I got a few copyright issues. That'll be up in about a week's time. But there's some awesome games from 99, from 2003. A lot of the guys you're watching as coaches are now our players in these things. So it really is a lot of fun to watch. And remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting EOPsports.com with great articles from our huge staff and contributors, 4 of which you're looking at right here. And while you're there, please subscribe to our newsletter. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, some amazing things. You know what? The best thing, I was doing the post-game press conference with Patty Merrill. And, of course, Pat and I go back a long ways, and we haven't seen each other, well, since he went over to San Diego. And, well, there you are. All of a sudden, we're starting to have a conversation of, hey, so-and-so, how's so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Like we haven't missed a beat in years. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Same thing with Austin Stotts. We had a nice conversation afterwards as well, after we did a little bit of a presser there. And you can catch both Pat Merrill and Austin Stotts on our YouTube page as well. All right, guys. A couple of things to up and coming. April the 6th is the Bats third annual Bats Invitational over in Rochester. If you happen to be anywhere in the area, it is definitely worth going to. The Laxwine North American Invitational versus the Rochester Bats. And your ticket to the Nighthawks game gets you in there for free. And the Nighthawk game as well. It's a perfect day of lacrosse. I will be there. I will be covering both. So should be a great time. Has to be a great time, man. The Rock are playing Albany that night, and I'm not driving to Albany. Think about that.
Oh, nice.
Can you imagine? But Mike Cooper and the Bats, they are awesome. They're a great team. And a lot of former NLLers and some that are just off rosters will be in that game. So if you want to meet up with a bunch of guys, this is your chance to do it. Also, the Rob McDougall Memorial, this 3rd annual fundraiser, is July 6th at the Toronto Rock Athletic Center. It is a spectacular thing. You got a Junior A game at 3, the celebrity game, which is amazing. And we've even had John Tavares, the hockey player, come in and do some repping in there, as well as a few other surprises. Silent auction, I picked up a couple of great things last year. Georgia Swarm jersey and a few other things in there. Beer garden and live music. No Turf Monster, though. Nope. You can get some salty. You can get some salty. You can get some imported. They wouldn't let me take any on the plane. Imagine that, eh? But, yeah. And, of course, we've got Eduardo with us. Good evening, Eduardo. St. Augustine, Florida, back from Puerto Rico. I was close to you, but I was close to you. Great photos from the trip. Yes, if you want to take a look at the game, I put about 60 pictures up on our All Across All the Time site. And spectacular. Mike, what's going on?
Oh, come on. Anyone but him. Anyone but him.
I tried to get him to do it out, but you know what? I jumped over.
Right out the Bombay door.
Like the old Jose Hertz rent-a-car commercial, leaping over old ladies and trying to get out of there. And then this is the limo driver, man. I think you're doing it to kill me because all of a sudden I have a guy driving the side streets following the speed limit. We're going 25
What?
miles per hour, stopping full stops at stop signs. Like, come on, I got like 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Come on, 35 seconds. You got a bigger tip because I didn't want me for change. Here you go. Thanks. See you later. Bye bye. Oh man, that's been up for a while. Well, it's daytime here, right?
Yeah.
Oh no,
It
sorry,
is.
it's nighttime. I'm in the East Coast again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ross, I believe, is an XL. Huh? XL, but it's 2XL. Come out.
Stick around,
Oh my
Dave.
goodness.
It'll be a good one tonight.
See what happens,
Yeah,
Pat? I bring
really.
you on here and we get the whole Edge of Philly sports team coming out here.
I'm telling you, they're popping up like some roaches. I'm telling you, where are they? Oh, come
Now,
on.
it was Indigenous night over in
Hey.
Toronto last week. It was Indigenous night over in San Diego this past weekend. And hence the cap that I got with the Indigenous thing. It works out very well with their colors and everything. So,
Awesome.
this was definitely a showpiece that I needed for everything. Also got some trading cards, something the league should be doing with everybody. And I got Audie Stotts to sign his card for me. So really, really cool stuff. Only 50 of each player they had made. So it was I kind of lucked into it. So really,
Excellent.
really cool stuff. Well, guys, NLL, shall we?
Yes.
Do it.
Absolutely. What a week.
All right. Why don't we start off on the Friday night, just to be different, Cutting edge here, I'm telling you, cutting edge here, all across
Yes.
all the time. We could do it backwards, like some competitors, but hardly worth a try. Start off with Georgia and Halifax.
Yeah. Bit of a
Another
wild game.
barn burner of a game, eh?
Yeah. Kind of crazy because, for the most part, Georgia really kind of had control of this game until the fourth quarter.
The one that matters.
Yeah, exactly. With 9:32 left, Seth Oaks scores for Georgia. They go up 12-6. Then Halifax goes on a 5-goal run. Dawson Theed, Clark Peterson, Ryan Benesh, who still playing like he's 20 years old. Austin Shanks, and then Graham Kostiuk with 6 seconds left, and kind of left it up to to Jake
Pat, are you
Lucas.
getting bruised or what, man? Are you
Yeah,
getting bruised?
Pat's just like getting roasted here.
He's the winner from the whole
Yes,
team.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the PM and the AM shows just finally took across their friends.
Oh my.
Matty
Oh,
B.
boy.
But we got Matty B watching too. My God,
Yeah.
we have
Yes.
the entire team.
Yeah.
It's just
Hey.
here live,
This
interactive.
this is what happens when the Wings get a home win.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's a whole
yes.
celebration. Guys haven't been to bed in 2 days, man. They've been popping corks. Unbelievable stuff.
Jeez.
They even made a trophy for themselves. I told you, they won their championship right there.
They got a parade route going and everything. Like,
I'm telling you,
they
Frank
got
for
a couple
comment
of
was
Mike flags on some of the trucks too.
Mike
just
flags.
because, that's part of the thing. I think they took a
over
couple
my
of
flag.
backyard on some of the tractors might be missing too. Those Philly folks, they're conniving. They're swift.
Oh yeah, they're out there. They're
right
out
down
there.
on Broad Street for you. Don't you worry. Tractor going down
Yes.
Broad Street with a muffler Mike Banks.
Especially
Anyways, Georgia.
Yeah, where was I now? Yeah, Graham Kostiuk scored with 6 seconds left in the fourth, making 1-goal game. Kind of came down to Jake Withers at the spot, which probably is a good bet. I believe he did win the faceoff, but it was kind of a bit of a loose ball, schmoz, and they just couldn't get that final shot off. 6 points for Lyle Thompson for the Swarm. A goal and 5 assists for Brendan Bomberry. You got 4 points from Shane Jackson, 6 from Andrew Q. You got help kind of all over the place from the Swarm. Again, you're looking at the Thunderbirds, 6 points from Clark Peterson, 4 from Austin Shanks, 4 from Dawson Theed. Ryan Stotts had a couple of goals. It was probably what you expected out of these two teams, a real close match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, we all did pick Halifax in the pick'ems, and Georgia, definitely needed this game.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they were definitely lacking last weekend when they dropped both ends of the doubleheader was production out of both Shane Jackson and Brendan Bomberry. So it's that's got to be a good sign for them, and they're getting into that now. We're finally. I've only been talking about it for 2 months now. They're finally in that stretch. They finally hit 13 games, and they have played all of their away schedule, and their last 5 games are at home. Hey, Matt, thanks for tuning in. He's probably happy that Georgia won. So
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Right. So Georgia and Albany.
but yeah, so when we talked about, hey, where do they need to be, at that 13 game mark, and I think at the time we were kind of leaning more towards like a 9-4 or 8-5, that would kind of almost guarantee them a playoff spot. Oh, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that one. Don't worry.
We'll get to that.
But yeah, again, what worries me about Georgia is the crumpling in the fourth. You're up big.
Yeah.
You're up 12-6.
Yeah.
And you've mailed it in for the last 10 minutes of that quarter. And it almost cost you the game. And it's been things like that have cost them game after game that they've put away that they should have won. So
that's definitely concerning. And
Yeah.
it's funny that Matt chimes in with with Buffalo, because it's not the same issue, but it's a similar issue in that we're seeing the same things kind of game in and game out with Buffalo, and we'll get to it in a bit, but yeah, that has to be concerning, but again, on the bright side, again, their last 5 are at home, so
a win's a win. Win's a win. Doesn't matter by 1 by 100.
7-6. That's good enough right now for, I think, 5th place. And it's just that Halifax has a game in hand on them, but they have the tiebreaker over Halifax now, because I believe that was their only meeting of the year. So they own that tiebreaker if they end up, and their last 5, again, Calgary, Philly, Saskatchewan, Las Vegas, Rochester. Most of those teams are under 500 right now. So not that won't change, especially, with another 6-7 weeks to go in the season. But I think they're in good shape. I think they're just about where we thought they needed to be in order to give themselves a reasonable shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, like we talked before, going to that stretch of home games, we're talking just off the air here. They're going to be tough games, but you have at least have that home floor advantage. You have the home crowd behind you. You're on familiar floors. Even knowing how the ball is going to bounce on, react off boards is an advantage over the other teams.
Absolutely,
just being in your home rink.
Sure. All right, let's move forward. We had San Diego and Panther City. Now, I had a chance to watch this game in San Diego, and of course, we had a boisterous crowd. They got some really cool stuff there. They got this loud cup that when you blow into it, you get a seal sound out of it, which scared the hell out of me the first time they scored. It's amazing what this does.
What is it, like their version of the Vuvuzela?
That's exactly what I mentioned. Because the thing's actually made here in Toronto, and I don't think the Seals have actually worked a deal with them because they wanted too many points or something. But they should be, because this thing is wild. And I watched this, and it's like 3 cups in one. And of course, the last one's like the whistle. And, here I am in a strange place and looking like an outsider for sure. San Diego was an overtime goal away from having a Georgia weekend, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Because, man, that was a lot tighter a game than I expected. And for it to be that nip and tuck throughout the game, hey, Mike, it just was a defensive struggle, but it was a chippy game.
Yeah. And in the vein of giving goalies props, even in losing efforts for big efforts on Nick Demude, 59 saves in the losing.
That's incredible.
10-9 in overtime. So, that's 69 shots faced on the night. So
he made some amazing saves.
Yeah, those are numbers that Shawn and I should be talking about in the summer with WLA games.
Yeah,
and here we are talking about an NLL game. But again, 59 saves in the losing effort for Demude. PC had their guys did show up. Callum Crawford had a hat trick, 2 assists. Phil Caputo had 2 and 2. Jason Knox had a pair. Will Malcolm a goal and 5 assists. For San Diego, the usual suspects. Stotts had a hat trick, 3 assists. Dixon 2 and 3. Berg 2 and 2. Dobie, Leclerc, Kyle Jackson all 1 and 1. And Chris Origlieri, I mean, even halfway through the season, we were, hey, can they really do it with a 21?
He's been looking good recently. And he's
46 saves against a very potent Panther City offense, says he can. So,
and Trey Leclerc got his 100th career point in this game.
Yeah,
that was big.
And did Dixon? He's still just shy of 1,000.
He's just shy, but Dobie wound up with his milestone in the game the next night. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that game. But going down the stretch, and both teams had chances to win this thing.
Very much back and forth.
And it was wild. It was wild in the bar.
And they were, and both teams were moving just as fast in the fourth quarter as they were in the first. Transition. There was just tons of back and forth transition.
Yeah, and
a lot of risk taking.
Very physical game.
Definitely.
But and then of course Stotts with the overtime goal. If you're going to put it on someone's stick, that's the guy who's going to do it. But But then they had to travel all the way from the southeast all the way back to the southwest for the next night. All the time while Toronto is sitting in Vegas. Now, you would almost think that, they'd only have an hour flight. They're probably in better shape. You would be wrong, because Jamie had them take a bus from Vegas to San Diego. So they spent 6 hours overnight on a bus.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my gosh. Punishment.
They did not have an advantage with that little to-do. But anyways, into Vegas we go. And this is the first time ever that Toronto played Vegas. So we didn't have any other things to go on. Now, here's my thing to you guys, and it has to do with today's game as well. Do you remember when a sock trick was kind of an outside kind of thing, and like, wow, did he really get 6?
Yeah.
You had 3 of them this weekend. 2 of them in this damn game. You had Jack Hanna, who was on fire right from the word go, with a couple of goals, barely before the game started. And you had Chris Boucher, who couldn't do anything wrong. Didn't matter where he fired. You could have fired it from the dressing room, and it would have gone in. Reminded me of Daryl Timmon when he scored 6 goals and 4 assists against Boston in the 70s for the Leafs. Everything he touched didn't matter, from behind the net, from beside the net, off, from the bench. It didn't make a difference. It was going in. And Boucher got 7 goals. And throw 4 assists on there on top of it, and you had the game of games. But another big game from Mark Matthews. Big-time player. This is looking more and more really worth that first-round pick. Eh, Shawn?
Yeah, I keep saying I don't think there's a loser in that one, because Mans, we get to that too. He had a hell of a game too.
Yeah, just win-win in this one.
Yeah.
And again, another time when Justin Martin, who's I believe leading the league in shorthanded goals now, but he is just lightning and just full of energy. For an undrafted rookie, unbelievable. Heading into the second quarter, we're up 4-2. Toronto was up 4-2. Jacob Rouet pulled it in within 1, and then Toronto gets on a run. Schreiber, Lintner, and Small, all in the span of a couple of minutes, and boom, it's 7-3. Whole different complexion. We get back to the Jack Hanna deal. First one on power play, second one straight up, and it's 7-5. Zach Kearney gets his first career goal for the Rock. Great to see that, man. I loved watching him play with Oakville. in the summer for the President's Cup. So to have him get drafted and then make the lineup and get a goal, spectacular. Rob Hellier and Hannah again, and it's 8-7, and all of a sudden it looks like, oh, boy. You know, Bushi gets one with a minute and a half left, and it's 9-7 Toronto at the half. Coming out of the half, Zach Greer makes it 9-8, and again, but now we get another name, Josh Dawick. His first career hat trick happened in the third quarter. He got 3 goals in the third quarter alone. 2 came back to back. One was off a Mark Matthews feed. The other one off a Chris Bushi feed, and it was 11-8. Zach Greer got another goal, and then we have the Bushi Dawick show again, and it's 13-9 Toronto. Dylan Watson gets a goal. By the way, Bob Watson's son, another connection to Toronto. And then we have the Chris Bushi show for the fourth. 3 of the 3 Toronto goals, all Chris Bushi, all from behind the net, all dives. You figure that Vegas would get wise to that play? He did it 5 times in the game. Well, and of course, who else would be scoring but the 1 goal for Vegas would be Jack Hanna with his 6th of the night. There were a lot of socks flying around that arena. Lots and lots of socks. So if you needed a shot for socks, this was where you wanted to go. This looked like a Costco. Things just flying off the shelves, 2 sock tricks. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Rather clean game, guys. We only had 6 penalties in the entire game. 7. 1 legal substitution. But if we look into the stats, Toronto outshot Vegas 50-38. Kel saw a lot of rubber from a very potent team. Even a team that has got as many injuries as Toronto, they can still throw a lineup that they can throw out. Is unbelievable, the depth on this team. Yeah. And I'll get to that again when we're talking about the San Diego-Toronto game because, wow. And having TD Erlin back at faceoffs healthy, 26-5. The faceoff advantage. So how many more possessions you getting? And you want to take penalties against Toronto, 4 for 5 on the power play and a shorty. And Vegas went 2 for 2 on their power plays. So pretty much every time somebody sat down, they didn't sit down for long.
Right.
So a great game. And, another really good showing for a, up-and-coming team like Vegas against a really tough, shall we say, favorite to win the cup team like Toronto. And, it shows more and more every week. Sean Williams has got these guys believing.
Yeah.
Nothing's
a gimme in this league. Every game is important.
No.
Every game.
No, and that brings us to our next game of no gimmies. And that would be Vancouver and Buffalo. And Vancouver has got their 3rd win of the year, guys. And Buffalo is sub 500. They're 5-6 now. And all the comments I've been reading on the Bandit boards. We got to get rid of this guy. Got to get rid of that. When's he going? Oh, man. Things aren't lovey-dovey over in Bandit land right now.
No.
You're already hearing talks.
They got older. We've been saying this for 3 years. They got older. And
I heard about it too with Matt Vince out. I mean, how many games has Matt Vince missed
for them? Yeah.
And so you have really no succession plan for when he's out now for who knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's this was their 2nd game, right? Without
I think it's the 3rd one without him.
The 3rd one? And I think
are they 0-3?
Yeah, I think so.
1 and 2 are 0-3.
I believe so, and I believe Devlin Shanahan's been pulled in every single one of those games for Stephen Orlerman.
Yeah, and they're starting to what I'm reading on the boards. They're starting to complain about his foot movement. Something that I was talking about in San Diego with Quinn McLaughlin, who has spent an enormous amount of time working with Dallas Elliott about footwork and hugging posts and warrior stepping first and all these, technical things that really matter come game time. And they went through regiments with me, and it's really incredible. You're getting reps with teams that are much worse than where your level is. But instead of doing things, normal, you're going to spend 10 minutes doing nothing but kick saves. Then you're going to spend 10 minutes doing nothing but stick saves. Then nothing but body saves. So making the most of your time. So really, it was interesting to listen to what their what their plan was to get ready for anything. And then when you put him up against, and he's actually fielding shots against Austin Stotts and Cam Holding and these guys. So
Yeah.
kudos. You're going to put in the work.
Yep.
Another name that comes to mind with that
build experience. So.
Well, I'd say another name that comes to mind who would go against anything and play as many games as he could was Craig Wendy. And it got him from people saying that no, he doesn't belong anywhere near there to having starting jobs in the NFL. So, put in the reps, put in the time. Anyways, Josh Byrne opened up the scoring. So, things look rosy right off the hop, only 55 seconds in for Buffalo. And then it changed. The Charlton Beatty's Crowley show happened. Crowley got a goal on the power play a couple of minutes in. Charlton Beatty's about 40 seconds later on the power play. And then Ryan Martell, and boom, was 3-1. But Buffalo, a very spotty team of runs. Nanakoke and Buchanan get a pair of goals.
Noki.
Perfect.
Noki.
We're being hijacked.
Noki.
We are being hijacked.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, Keegan Ball, and it's 4-3 for Vancouver after one. Enter the second, which destroys the Penguins. The Riley Lowen with a pair of goals, Kevin Crowley, Keegan Ball, and now it's 8-3. Just like that. And it was only 5 minutes in. So Dane Smith comes in with one to stop the run of 5. And Charlton Beatty's just seconds later gets that back. Chris Kluche starts a run for Buffalo that hits over the half. He had one with about 8 minutes to go in the second. Then he scores the next goal a couple of minutes into the third, and Josh Byrne, and we have a game again, 9-7. Riley Lowen with his third, Kyle Killen, and it's 11-7 for Vancouver. Now you would think, okay, at this point, maybe Vancouver's got this under control. Again, Buffalo fighting back. Josh Byrne with another, with 1:53 left. Then Chase Fraser with a power play goal with only 30 seconds left in the third quarter. And again, it's 11-9. Crowley and Ball start the fourth with a pair of goals, 13-9. And again, you're thinking, okay, Vancouver's got this one controlled. They can take care of it. Well, again, here's Buffalo with their runs. Josh Byrne, Kyle Buchanan, Byrne again with a couple of minutes left, and it's 13-12, and things are getting very interesting. Enter Aiden Walsh, who made a couple of game-saving saves, and, Vancouver has their third win of the year. Amazing.
That was actually a point I was about to make. We're talking about goaltending. What about Aiden Walsh? I mean, having Bold on in his corner, you're seeing the difference now. Like, holy cow, he had a great game.
Mm-hmm. And that's still a high-octane Bandits offense.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're a year older or not. When you're looking at, again, we're talking about Byrne, Smith, Kluche, Nanakoke, Fraser. That's a potent lineup anywhere. And, you got a young
and I was going to say, I think that goes a bit, Matt Martin asked, what can they do?
Their defense isn't looking great. And with Spanger on the IR on this game, that's one more piece that wasn't there. You don't have Adler. You don't have a few others. You're leaving it all to McKay, and he can only do so much.
Right? Yeah. No Bruce Sweeting all season. You don't have Ethan O'Connor anymore down there.
You got rid of McCulley who could do both. It just there's so many pieces missing back there that unless they're going to score 17 goals a game, they're going to have a lot of these things and especially when you don't have Matt Vince back there to steal one.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest piece. Like I said, they didn't have a plan for what if Matt Vince goes out. I mean, with all due respect to Devlin, he hasn't really had the time, any real amount of playing time. And you're kind of falling back on Steven Orleman. He's kind of been jumping here and there, has been a bit of a journeyman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing I was going to say was, with the offense,
Yeah, that's true.
A
That's very
lot
true,
of
Yeti.
the comments I'm seeing, well, they don't change anything on offense. They don't change anything, but you almost, I,
Guido, I haven't even taken my jacket off. I literally got out of a cab, and it was 10 o'clock to start the show. So it was amazing. If you haven't been to San Diego, get there. It is a gorgeous city, and I'll get more into that after. Sorry, Mike.
no worries. I guess I was going to say, to make a lot of changes to the offense at this point, would you really want to if you're John Tavares?
No, the
You,
offense
you,
isn't the
you,
problem.
No,
yeah,
offense isn't the issue.
you understand what you have at your disposal.
Yeah.
So, I think you need to let those guys, they have their chemistry. It's brought them to 3 finals in 4 years and, with the
And a
championship
championship.
win.
Yeah.
So I think you need, don't fix what isn't broken there.
Right.
Okay. I get it. Dane Smith is more of an assist guy and has been for the last couple of years than he's been a goal guy. Okay. This is a guy who, he holds a single season record, Yeah, it was back in 2016, but 72 goals in a season is nothing to sneeze at. That's literally an average of 4 goals a game for the entire season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And you got one of the best players in the world in Josh Byrne too, right? So.
Yeah, can you pin it on that? I'm not so sure.
But
could you say that Fraser and Anacoke? Okay, hey, they're not showing up every game. Maybe
as a advocate, also I see the same plays being run, and this is something I faulted Rochester for when they started getting in their funk. But I see a lot of the same setups and plays, and unless Byrne is going to be extremely athletic like he was in the playoffs, and there's only so much you can do that way, diving and jumping and combobulating all over the place. That it's get it across, flip it across, have a pass from Dane over to Josh, and a wired shot from the far side. Time and time again, occasionally move to the center. And more times than not, it makes it in still. But teams are getting wise to it, and they're starting to block these lanes, seeing it develop. Starting to give Chris Fraser a tough.
I mean, I can see where in that respect, you do need to try to mix it up a bit. The same could be said for
A little more creative.
Yeah, team
Yeah.
like the New York
Got the
Riptide, where
athletic
you're going to
people,
get. Yeah, like when you're playing the Riptide, you're going to get at least 2 or 3 situations if you're on the opposing defense where they're going to try to get, a dunk from behind the net with Larson Sundown. Know it's coming.
Yeah.
So, but in that case, most of the time with Sundown, it's working.
True.
So,
True. Pat, I see you salivating up there, man. You're next.
He's ready. He's ready.
He just needs to get a sound on.
I guess the only other thing I would say before we move on to Philly with Buffalo is, this is something that I think have been screaming for a while was, hey, you got to let the young guys play. When are we going to see more of Sam LaRue? When are we going to see Zach Belcher on the floor? I would like to think that Cam Wires has had a pretty decent campaign as a rookie this year.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. But I think in an ideal situation, you didn't want to put all of them in at the same time. You kind of wanted to put here and there and, have some veteran leadership guidance along the way for the systems. And here these guys are just being thrown, and you're seeing rookie mistakes into a system that they're not 100% sure of. Sure, they're into the practices, and sure, they're into the meetings, but it's a whole different thing game time to experience it. And
I think you need to add to that too. I think it's awesome that Frank Brown is back for them, but it's been that long since he's been on the floor too.
Yeah.
So it's almost, I don't want to say it's like putting Belter on the floor for his, second or third ever game.
Right.
He's going to have a little more experience, but he also does need to get back into the pace of the NLL after being sidelined for so long.
All right, Pat. Tell me, what happened that the lead went from Calgary to Philadelphia, considering we all picked Philadelphia, or all picked Calgary?
You know what?
Cough, cough. Not all of us pick Calgary.
I mean, listen.
Just like not
And
all of
first
us
of
pick
all-
Buffalo.
Right, just like not all of us picked Panther City today. Uh-huh.
Whoa. Well, listen. You know, this would explain for a round. You know, yesterday was raining, heavily downpours, and you can understand why. The Philadelphia Wings get their first win at home. So, you know, there was only like 4 beat reporters up there yesterday dealing, you know, that made it through. But anyway, regardless, let's talk about what happened on the floor there yesterday. You know, again, the Philadelphia Wings look like they're off to a slow start. The defense looks like it's completely dysfunctional. It looks like there's miscommunications. It looks like there's just a lot of bad going on. And Isaiah Davis Alan Davis just really, takes a dumb penalty. They said it was holding, but it looked like more of a horse collar call to me. He goes to the sin bin. But however, the Philadelphia Wings would respond with a guy named Samuel Clare kind of getting things rolling in that first half. First half when he comes up with not but three. He comes up with 3 goals. He records a hat trick. He was really the playmaker in that first half. Just cutting to the as what Paul Day said in the press conference. He loved what he saw from the team because they were cutting to the rim. They were cutting to the crease, and that's what they did. They found themselves around the crease, working around. Well, Calgary was working through them. Again, Calgary, what they like to do on defense, they like to throw physicality at you. They like to get physical. They got physical with Mitch Jones. They like to put you in 2-on-1 situations. But Sam LeClaire looked like John LeClaire, and he was getting himself in there, and he was making the best of it. And then, the first, like I said, the first quarter was off to a slow start. The third quarter, they come out not hot, but again, that's in that fourth quarter, playmakers start to show it. The Ben McIntoshes, the Mitch Jones. You had, Joe Rest Terrence, 2 goals and 3 assists. He was really good. Again, find guys open in double coverages and still got the ball around them, got it back to the net. Philly would win 11-9, and Joe Russ Terrence probably had the player of the night, where he catches the rebound off the crossbar that comes right into his stick, and he rifles one right in there. So tremendous game from him. The weather, again. So I asked, Paul Day, was there any big differences? He just said he just read the different, defense formations that they were throwing out and so forth. So I got to give kudos to this team, and believe it or not, Mitch Jones got a little taste of it himself playing a little defense. So Mitch Jones got to play a little defense. He was unusual, and I asked him about that too. I said, what was it like for you to play some defense? He said, it's not what he usually likes to do, but look, he had to do what he had to do for the team for the time being, and look, the team took a win. And that's all that matters right now. So I don't know if this is going to be momentum moving forward. You talk about Panther City. Panther City hasn't won on the road since January 27th. So they got that going for them as well. So hopefully this is momentum because, like Joe Russ said in the postgame, this is playoff time. We put ourselves in a hole. Now we got to dig ourselves out. So let's go.
Yeah, and we were talking off air, and one of the things that certainly hasn't helped Philly's cause this year in a number of their games is they are tops in the league as far as number of shots allowed. That's total number of shots, off goal and on goal, averaging somewhere around 83 shots allowed per game. And they simultaneously rank last in the league in number of shots taken. So, not the best recipe for winning. So, certainly, it's encouraging to see that, they're taking more shots or they're converting more of their shots. At least they did over the weekend. But,
Right.
That's certainly a focus that, they're going to have to improve on going forward if they want to win. But, yes, absolutely, Brian.
What's up, Nicholas?
Yeah.
That's it, Brian. Finally a win at home.
And I do want to mention, that Davis Allen did redeem himself big time in the fourth quarter. He had a key loose ball pickup after a big save from Zach Higgins, and he won a key face-off both in the last 2 minutes of play. When they were only up 10-9 at that point. So that last goal came with about a half second left, that insurance goal. So
and we've talked a lot about goaltending, and I mean, Zach Higgins, I mean, this could have been a whole lot worse of a game if it wasn't for him. 30, he stopped 50 of 59 shots, a very potent Calgary offense, and he shut them down. I know, Pat. I know, but I mean,
piggybacking off what Sean's saying, and what Pat said about Mitch Jones being on defense, they knew from last week this Calgary team is a team. They thrive on their transition. They're constantly pushing the ball up the floor. Christian Del Bianco has close to 20 assists on the year, I think.
Yeah.
So there were going to be situations where guys like Jones or Resetaritz, caught on D, but the Wings were pushing back. And in fact, the one goal I think that Mitch Jones scored, I counted 3 Calgary offensive players playing D. I think Taylor, Courier, and Tanner Cook were all on defense for that goal. So, Philly was doing a good job of kind of giving Calgary a bit of their own medicine and catching some of their defensive player. I mean, it happened. It definitely happened quite a bit on both sides the entire game, where offensive players were getting caught on the back end and having to play defense, and they could not get off the floor because of the speed and the pace of the transition game on both sides.
Well, to Sean's point, to Sean's point, he mentioned earlier about Zach Higgins. Just, look, yesterday was his game, and he was on it. And again, I in that first quarter, I felt bad for him because the fact that again, Calgary was, especially guys like Tyler Pace and Cook, they were just finding some open shots and creating space, and they were getting right where they needed to go. Just there was one play where Tyler Pace just had a wide open lane, and he just finds the back of the net. But Higgy does. Higgy came through yesterday, and after that first quarter, man, it was just the Higgy show. I mean, there was nothing really getting past him. Again, you kept this team under 10, a double digit, off the scoreboard. So you had some things going there.
Yeah,
that's huge. And then you talked about the offense. As the one listener checking in, he said, that's the one thing. Your playmakers are not making plays when they need to. Granted, they came up in the fourth and clutch, but you need a Joe Resetaritz. You need a Mitch Jones. You need the Ben McIntoshes. And they were scoreless in the first and scoreless in the third. I mean, it was just riding on a hydropilot. Meaning we need you guys to keep on putting the foot on the gas pedal. Again, it was nice to get a Sam LeClaire showing yesterday, but is he going to be like that from here on out? We don't know. And like I asked, Ben McIntosh, because Ben McIntosh was more of a facilitator than he was a scorer yesterday. So I said, how did that roll for you? He goes, listen, sometimes it's just going to have to be like that. You're going to just, one night you might have to be a goal scorer, the next minute you have to just be a facilitator. It's just the game kind of dictates itself.
Now, to me, what take away positive out of this is normally when the Wings fall down in the third and don't score or score very little, that usually plays off into the fourth and the big collapse happens. This time around, they picked themselves up, dusted themselves off, and put up 5 goals in the third to not only come back, but win and hold off Calgary to nothing. All this transition, all these long lead passes, all the other stuff that's going on, and the speed, and they're able to shut them down. So that's the first time I've actually talked about the Wings' defense being stellar to do that. That's so easy.
No, and like I said, I guess because I asked Joe too. I said, "Is the familiarity playing against Calgary from a week ago still there?" And he goes, And it's, I guess some in regards, there is, but I mean, again, they're going to switch up things. They're going to try some new things, but I mean, the physicality, the physicality is still there. You guys playing each other now back to back, guys kind of knowing one another what you're going to do. But it's going to be an interesting ride from here on out with the Philadelphia Wings and how they're going to respond. Especially now you got Panther City picked themselves up a dub, but like I said, on the road, man, it's like I said, they haven't looked pretty. You haven't had a win since January 27th on the road. So we'll see what they bring. A lot of fans getting on the Davis. Yeah, and I get it. He has to be better. And there's sometimes on one-on-one coverages, he gets beat off the ball. He needs to be better sometimes. I guess, like Mike said, he had a better second half. You got to give him credit for that. But, yeah, you can't start off in a hole every game, or else you're going to find yourself in big trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly part of that, could have been just the fact that, I don't think they had Nick Rowlett available. So, Davis Allen had to take the majority of the faceoffs. So, but, one other thing I'll point out, good to have Mitch Armstrong finally back in the lineup and to see him holding his own, for a 19-year-old kid, against a guys the size of Tanner Cook, that's got to be encouraging. So.
All right, guys. Let's move forward. We still got a lot of things to cover. Pat, thanks a lot, bud. And I know you got to get ready for your steel steps and for the paper.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I got a whole night ahead of steel steps to do. I got the show. No, I got a long day. Sixers articles and all those fun things I'm still pumped out. So, guys, thank you. Let's go Wings. And listen, one more win, Mike, and I promise you, I might have to get a Higgins jersey. I might get a tattoo. I might get the Higgins tattoo across the chest. I'm telling you. I might just say Higgins going across my belly. So, guys, have a good one. I'll catch you later.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
I appreciate Pat. He would have picked up the reins for me here while I was busy in traffic, going 25 miles an hour and all the stop signs on the highway. Lord help us. All right, Mike, talk to us.
Oh,
Albany,
boy, yeah.
Absolutely destroyed the New York Riptide, and they haven't looked good in 3 games now.
Yeah, so the Riptide dropped their 3rd straight after getting over 500 for the first time in franchise history. 14-8, and this one really Albany was kind of in control from the get-go. They opened the game with a 3-goal run. New York comes back, cuts the deficit to 1, but another 3-goal run right at the end of the first quarter, and it already kind of feels like it's over at 6-2. After 1, there was 9-5 at halftime, and they kind of put it on cruise control almost, Albany. So
another game where you held Teat without a hat trick.
Yeah, I was gonna say only 5 points.
Shut him down.
Shut him down. Yep.
Yeah, held him. Kiernan just a pair of goals. Keogh had 2 and 2. But Glenn Clark actually elected to play all 8 of his forwards last night, and that kind of paid off because everyone had at least 1 point.
But you're not going to beat many teams in the NLL if you're only scoring 8.
No.
So, the offense obviously needs to find that consistency again that had propelled them to an over 500 record.
Well, yeah, they seem to be going back to the old system of everything goes to Teat and everything goes through Teat and everything else. And then they block the lanes and really make it hard for him because he's got to face the best of the best every single game. Whereas what was working before was putting Kehoe as the bull in a china shop, almost doing what Nanacook was doing in the championship series, and just creating havoc. Even if he didn't get granted, he had some of these highlight reel goals, but even when he wasn't doing things like that, it would discombobulate the defense enough that zone wasn't working, and you couldn't go just strict man-to-man on him or double team Teat because you had Keogh, you had O'Connor, you had Kiernan, you had all these other choices, and nobody knew what was going on. Now you can pretty much see the playbook.
Yeah, I was about to say it's just like Buffalo, right? They're getting predictable.
Yeah,
we know Teat's getting the ball. We just need to know where he is on the floor and make sure that lane's covered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's going to get his points, but if you can keep him from getting 9 and 10, which is what he was doing during that run that they were winning, well, you see the result.
Yeah.
He's getting 5 points, and they're only getting 8 goals.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and obviously another big game from Doug Jamieson. Now 9-0 on the season, 45 saves. Big scores for Albany. Alex Simmons had 3 and 4. Ethan Walker had a hat trick and 2 assists. Ty Kurtz 2 and 4. And I think they ran that same play with the behind the back pass from behind the goal that they ran last week, and might have scored again. I can't remember. That might have been the shot that actually went off. I think it went off Dunkerley's elbow, and he had no clue whatsoever that the ball was still on that side of the floor. He was hugging the opposite post, following the guy who was moving behind the net. So Albany's got some pretty nifty trick plays in their playbook,
right,
which I guess goes to runs counter to what we're discussing with New York and Buffalo right now, kind of becoming a little bit predictable on the offense, and that they need to find some not only find consistency, both teams, but maybe start to shake things up a bit.
Which brings me to my next one of Colorado and inconsistencies as we move forward on that. I can't figure them out.
Yeah. Their defense looked
1 week to the next, Jekyll and Hyde.
And this last night, their defense looked horrible. I don't think there's any way to put it. They looked terrible. Just the rush offense
that badly at home
had the rush offense just had their way with them. There was times where Brian Keenan and I think there was a time Church too just ran right through him, just ran right to the net, not a problem, untouched.
Yeah, I think you got. I think most fans got the inkling that it was going to be a long night when the Barnable goal, where Mike Triolo of all people beats Tim Edwards on a face-off. Barnable picks up the loose ball, and there are no Mammoth players to be found anywhere between him and Dylan Ward.
That happened a couple times. Off of draws where the Rush won it, and that's another point I'll make in the second here. But yeah, the Rush won it. They got the loose ball, and there was nobody in front of them except Ward. And then there's times too, even with that situation where the Mammoth scored, the very next possession, the Rush put one in.
See, that's a killer. I've watched that a number of times, and teams have gone down the toilet. And you spend 5 minutes trying to get one just any way you can, and then the other team comes back 22 seconds later and scores. And then you watch the first bench just sink into the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's more of a killer than being down 5-0 at the beginning of the game. That just takes all the air out of that team.
Yeah. The face-offs. Oh, sorry, Gary, go ahead.
I don't know. I was saying with you can't get on Scigliano. He had a great game.
No, he had a great game. And I was just going to say, on the subject of face-offs, I've been hearing it in Rush Nation, like, we need a face-off guy. We need a face-off guy. We're losing all these face-offs. Rush went 13 for 25, and we saw what that offense can do when they get those extra possessions.
Yeah, but
sure.
boy.
But when you get guys
against one of the better face-off men.
Yeah.
Edwards, too, so.
Yeah, and Tim Edwards has had a great year on face-off. So if you're holding your own there, maybe you found a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, which is weird because they've been going through Triolo, Messenger. I think I've seen Billy Kidd III take a few face-offs. They really didn't have a consistent guy, and I know Keenan's kind of we don't need a Fogo guy because it takes the guy off a roster type of thing. I don't know what to say because I think the proof's in the pudding in this game. Especially we
perfect for a share here because last week when we were talking about the butt kicking that they took, one of two things are going to happen. They either get resilient or you're going to see that the rest of the year. I'm glad to see it was A, and Saskatchewan becomes resilient. And the guys who are supposed to be doing it are doing it. The Keenans, the Mans. These guys need to be the forefront and be the offensive leaders. Churches, guys like that.
Yep.
And you can't rely on the next guy. These guys have to take it by the horn. And in this game, you saw it. When everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's a pretty strong offense.
Oh, yeah. Like, the talent's all there. I mean, we've even seen guys like Triolo, Koznankov, those guys step up. And one thing to mention, too, is a note, Holden Garland was back in the lineup.
Right.
He, you could tell he was laboring a little bit, but I think just having that veteran presence in the back end probably helped a ton.
Now, the two games that I have circled when we get into what's coming up next week is Saskatchewan's got Buffalo in Buffalo. So that's going to be a big test. And then Colorado, it doesn't get much easier for them, does it?
Nope.
Well, that's what I was just
telling
telling.
Rock in Hamilton, in front of the home crowd, all with bobbleheads. You're going to have a full house because it's kids. Everything's at night. It's kids' night. It's autograph night. It's bobblehead night.
Yeah.
Over in Hamilton.
That's what I was telling Mike. I think Colorado's going to be sellers at the deadline because they're played 12 games now. They're at 4-8. So if we're looking at 9-9 or 10-8 to make the playoffs,
well, they had to go 7.
You're looking at having pretty much cleaned the floor. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. The trade deadline is the 12th, so we're looking at next weekend and then the trade deadline. And if they've got, they're traveling to Toronto, let's just sort of play devil's advocate here. But I mean, I think we kind of know they're going to be 4-9. Okay.
From what I'm hearing is Dan Craig will be back in the Rock lineup too. So
yeah,
and then the trade deadline's going to hit. So at that point, it's okay. Do we really think we're going to win our last 5 to get to 500 and have a chance?
Right.
Especially when their last 2 games, after Toronto, they've got 3 at home against Rochester, Buffalo, and Philly. And then they're at Las Vegas and at Halifax to finish the season. So,
you almost get away flag going up the
folks, out in Denver are thinking, we're probably not going to be 500.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're saying with this game was a kind of winner is right back to the playoff floor. Ace loser is
an interesting question.
Yeah, and
I put it to depends on what type of defense Philly's got.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, if Philly's defense doesn't show up, there's too much firepower on that offensive side for the rush. I think it's what depends on what kind of rush defense shows up and what kind of goaltending they get too. We've seen that go the other way as well.
Factors, not bad.
Yeah, and it could be one of those things where it's almost like you wish that game hadn't been postponed, because by the time you get to the rush now, they could be, just looking at scary, but just looking at Saskatchewan's schedule, beyond Buffalo, the Buffalo game next week, you got a home and home with New York.
Yeah.
No worries. So after that Buffalo game, you got a home and home with New York. Then you're at Georgia. And then you're at Philly. And that's part of the, all those away games.
5 games in 15 days.
That's 5 games in 15 days. You've got at New York and at Georgia in one weekend. Then you've got at Philly on a Thursday. And then that next week, you've got a home and home with Calgary in the same weekend.
What the interesting thing is, though, with this Rush team is they seem to be playing better on the road. I don't have the stats in front of me.
It's definitely a tough stretch, but this Buffalo with Matt Vince out,
I think they got shot.
This is a chance to win. You have 2 against a Riptide team that's on a losing streak right now, and their schedule's it's on the favorable side, but they're hosting Vegas, so that's not a gimme. You could be coming into those games, with them on a 4-game losing streak, and it's a good chance for Sask to kind of leapfrog some teams, especially since they have games at hand on pretty much everyone except Georgia, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty much how much gas are they going to have in that 5 games in 15.
Right.
because that's yeah.
All right, let's move forward. And we head over to San Diego. And, well, here you go, guys.
There you go.
Salty,
Salty's
There
escape.
it is.
great beer. If you have a chance to find it, find it. You might have to travel to San Diego there to get it. But anyways, this is a tale of two games, guys. It's a tale of two halves, a tale of two games. We had this absolutely slobber knocker going on. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a chippy game all the way around. And some of the things that I had mentioned in the pre-thing, when you take a look at the matchups of the offenses and how evenly matched they were, well, we got that. When you take a look at the defenses, well, that comes the second half. Take a look at some of the saves the goaltending made down the stretch, we got that too. You take a look at the face-offs. And yes, Batista was the one who edged out Erlin, but it was 18-13. You're talking about two of the best guys in the business. And some of these things went 30, 40 seconds before either the refs whistled it or something happened. Because it was incredible. The best in the business going at it. And that just laid the groundwork for what we were about to have. Shots on goal were tied 51-51. What kind of game were we in for? Huge,
Right.
huge game. Tom Schreiber opens the scoring at 21 seconds in the game. And, you're thinking, all right, Rock have legs. And that was a tough game that San Diego played the night before. Jacob Dunbar, he had a great first half. He was involved in a lot of things. He had a couple of goals, a couple of assists in that first half, but he was in the mix continually.
Yeah, and I was just going to say it should be noted that he was playing in place of Curtis Dixon, who was a healthy scratch for the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he had a rough one the night before, and I watched Curtis walk in. I happened to be in the back parking lot when he parked. He looked fine. So I don't know. Again, we're talking about the age thing and night in, night out, and how to save him for down the road.
Yeah.
So, but that's a big piece, not to be in the puzzle, and
in a big
when we
game.
come down, when we come down to the very end, because what people don't seem to realize is Toronto was sitting there. Yeah, they're first place in 9-2. San Diego was 8-3. If they win, well, they're ahead of Toronto in the standings because, well,
they have the
they
tiebreak.
would have the tiebreak. So it was a big game. Anyways, enter the Mark Matthews thing, and something I kept hearing in San Diego was, "Man, is he big?"
He's a big guy. Yeah,
he's a big guy, and he likes to throw the weight around. Funny enough, I flew home. Well, as we know, just before the show, but I had a good chunk of the SEALs team on their flying to Toronto. Okay? Jesse Gamble was on there. Kyle Rubish was on there. A few other guys in there. Wild, and then the Rock training staff. So who's who out there in this plane ride? Anyways, moving on. Matthews and Lintner scoring is 3-1 Toronto, and it's quiet in there. Well, you can hear the roadies. It's quiet in there. Enter Austin Stotts, and of course he's going to get in there, and he's a bull in the china shop. And he scores halfway through the first, followed by Westberg, who also had a big night, and we're tied. Corbeil gets a beauty, absolute beauty, and it's 4-3 Toronto. Trey Leclerc, who we talked about already, who had his 100th career goal the night before, and we're tied. Bushi, he gets one. Dunbar on the power play, and we're tied again. This was a theme for the whole night. Nobody got too far ahead of anybody. Berg on the power play with 1 second left. Now this power play, I thought they were going to kill the period off because there was only about 12 or 13 seconds when the penalty was called, and this is just a rope from just inside the restraining line. Boom, and there it was. Corey Small, a minute 21 into the second, and we're tied again. Now Adobe, he gets the goal that makes it 7-6. Now this was an important goal. It was his 528th career goal, puts him 6th all time in history, ahead of Colin Doyle, just 3 short of Ryan Benesh. Pretty incredible. but he needs to do up the chin strap in his helmet. Every game, that helmet's going, he's going east and it's going west. Every single game. So, yeah, it's the strap. Do up the damn strap. Anyways, Corey Small with a power play goal and a 7-7. Austin Stotts, 8-7. Tom Schreiber, 8-8. By the way, that was Tom Schreiber's 200th career goal. Our weekly Tom Schreiber milestone. Dobie again, 9-8. Stotts, and now it's 10-8, and things are going, that's the biggest lead we've seen with Toronto up by 2, and now San Diego up by 2. Bushi gets a goal with 1:40 left in the half, and it's 10-9 into halftime. 19 goals in the first half. A real goaltending duel. A defensive battle. And as I told you guys, it was a struggle to find defense. Because it's just, the travel, 2 tough games, and things were looking a little weak. Now the second half happens, and I don't know what's said in the dressing rooms, but all of a sudden, we didn't have a goal for the first 9.5 minutes of the third quarter. We had a goal every half minute in the first half. 9.5 minutes, no goals, and then Marley Angus gets a goal off a Bill Hostrauser pass in transition to tie this thing up. Now, what we were talking about before, right? You were spent all that time working to tie it up, and not 40 seconds later, Dane Dobie on the power play, and they're up 11-10. But here's the difference. Toronto gets a power play goal. It's 11-11. Corey Small gets one to make it 12-11. And, things are looking good for Toronto. Trey Leclerc ties it up with 10 minutes to go in the game on the power play. Austin Stotts has just an absolutely amazing goal from in close. And it's 13-12 for San Diego. 10 minutes to go in the game. Here come the defenses again. End-to-end action. Lots of opportunities. Huge saves from Nick Rose. Huge saves from Riglieri. And, just standing tall. This was the goaltending matchup that I had expected. Lintner scores. Now, it was originally waved off. And on a coach's challenge, it was deemed that he did not step in the crease. And it was a good goal. And it took forever. But it was the right call. Schreiber with a rope. Just an absolute rope off a Matthews pass from the corner. Kaboom. And it's 14-13 with 1:06 left. Are we, feeling comfortable? Heck no. We've been through this whole game. And they had opportunities. And again, Nick Rose. It looked like they had him beat in Rosie with the big save. And down comes Mitch DeSnew. And with 35 seconds left, an empty netter. And this game is over. A big last 2 minutes, and Toronto comes back and snatches victory from the jaws of defeat for a huge win. That puts them the first team with double-digit wins, 10-2. Looking at some of the stats, you're looking at, Corey Small, 3 goals, 2 assists. Chris Bushi, after a 7-goal night, 2 goals, 2 assists. You had 3 goals, 4 assists from Schreiber, 2 goals and an assist from Lintner, 2 goals and 6 assists from Mark Matthews. Now, again, you're looking at still a bunch of guys out, and the big piece missing is Dan Craig, and he's on the mends, and rumor has it he'll be back in the next game. So you're going to put him back into the mix. Well, there you go. Even more offensive weaponry. Josh Dawick, nothing in this game, but set a lot of picks. And just him being where he is, very, very high IQ, lacrosse IQ. So, even when he's off ball, he's doing a lot of really great things. For San Diego, Austin Stotts, of course, with 4 goals and 3 assists. Dane Dobie, 3 goals and 4 assists. Trey Leclerc with a pair of goals and 4 assists. Wes Berg, pair of goals and 4 assists. And just all over everything. And mixing things up, him and Desnu had a nice wrestling match in the second half. Jacob Dunbar with a pair of goals and an assist. So a lot of firepower coming from the guys who need to be doing these things. So, both teams firing on all cylinders. Origlieri played great. 50 shots, yes, 14 goals against. But, these are not easy shots. The Rock are a very tough foe. But, man, what an ambiance in there. What an ambiance. And the first one to admit that they made some critical errors was Pat Merrill. If you listen to the press conference, which is up on our YouTube channel, he talks about that. One of my questions to him was, were his guys instructed to kind of stay away from, all this mixing about because it was a chippy game and let Toronto take the penalties? He goes, well, I didn't really think it was that chippy. It was a chippy game, and Toronto had 6 penalties. San Diego scored 4 times. So, yeah, stay away from that. Let them take the penalties. They have a damn good power play. Toronto went 2 for 2 on the power play. But again, from them not falling into traps and having those become 4-on-4 situations, that only happened a couple of times.
And that's a good point, Gary, because we've seen San Diego before just lose their heads in those types of games, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of my points in a question. And again, the power play was rolling for San Diego, and it was a heck of a game. And I got to give props to the San Diego the game op people, because it really is a lot of fun, and probably the best halftime show I'd seen. With the dogs and the frisbees and all the other things going on in there too. So everything was working to its full extent. And something I really love is at the end of the game, Saskatchewan did this for a long time too. I don't know if they still do it. They rope it off, and players are out there signing stuff, and meet up with your favorite players and things like that, just to get the crowd involved.
Yeah, do a smaller version of that now, but yeah.
It's still, and
yeah,
meeting up with some of these people at the establishment next door, really great people. And the ones I met in the bar the night before for the view party, and the ones in the tailgate, it hasn't been around that long, and field they have an idea of somewhat. Box is still new to a lot of them. Excuse me. So they're going to get it, and with that positive of fan base, and with that good of a team, and that organization in its own right, sky's the limit. Really, sky's the limit. And if you have an opportunity to get into San Diego to catch a game, do it. It is worth your time, and it really is a lot of fun, and really a good arena too. Not huge, but a good arena and a nice size, and very comfortable. So, and watching them with their t-shirt tosses and ball tosses and all these other things, and lots of stuff going around for everything. And of course, your salty beers. Gotta have those, guys. Gotta have those. So the Rock come away with that win. They are up in number 1 in the league, 10-2. That's huge, especially with what's coming up. They got Colorado this week. Albany's not far away now. April 6th is not that far away. Anyways, that brings us to our final game of the week, and that was played this afternoon. It was funny. I was looking over Rube's shoulders. He was sitting in the seat in front of me on the plane, and of course he had it on his ESPN. So we were watching before we took off some of that broadcast. It was already 9-3 when we got on the plane. So I felt very confident in my thereabout due.
Yeah, indeed. It ended up being 10-6 at the half, and Rochester rolls to a 19-15 victory over Panther City. For those who think scoring isn't up in the league,
no kidding.
I'd like to submit this game.
Let alone 3 sock tricks, guys, this week. And one of them was in this game.
Actually 2.
2. So 4, Scott. 4.
Yeah.
Am I reading this right too? Rochester had 73 shots on net.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, 73-62, 135 shots.
Yeah.
It's a lot of rubber, man.
Yeah, quite
Did he even
the
show up for this game, or
quite the stat lines. Thomas McConvey had a sock trick for Rochester to go with an assist. Um, Connor Fields, 3 goals, 11 assists, 14 points on the night for Connor Fields. Ryan Smith had 3 and 4. They got 2 goals each from Curtis Knight, Kyle Waters, Dan Lomas. Riley Hutchcraft, big in net, 47 saves on the day. There were 13 goals alone in the fourth quarter. For PC, your big stars, Will Malcolm had 7 goals and 4 assists. So we actually had 2 7-goal scorers on the weekend.
Wow.
So again, for those who think scoring isn't up,
I was going to say we didn't have a sock trooper. We had a 5. I was going to say we didn't have a sock trooper in the Saskatchewan game. We had 5 goals from I believe it was Keenan. So
yeah, well, I'm you know what? I'm sure the people making those comments online just got finished watching the PLL Championship Series. That's sixes. It's a lot different. Of course, scoring is going to be high, but scoring's up in this league. Okay, despite some of the
Did you really want to see that every game, though?
Maybe not. But
I was going to say that's just the one negative I have with the Sixes. It's like
too much scoring.
Do you want a 25-20 game? Like,
yeah.
Why don't we just pull the goalies and just let them play in empty nets? Like,
we're pretty much doing that already.
Yeah.
But this game was what. And if anybody wants to hear about Riley Hutchcraft and his story, I interviewed him on Thursday on the other show, and you can catch that on my YouTube page as well. Great interview, really terrific guy. Interesting too. A lot of insight into everything that's going on and past, present, and future. So, give it a listen. But this game too, do you go into Panther City and Will Malcolm had that breakout game?
Yeah. Again, so 7 goals, 4 assists. He had 3 and 4 out of Jonathan Donville, and he's someone who's he said, hey, I need to get my scoring up. As of late, it hasn't been around. Maybe the key here to Rochester's win, Callum Crawford held without a goal. He only had 5 assists. Phil Caputo had 2 and 2. So, but
good to see Jason Knox with another big game too, because he played great against San Diego, and come back with 2 goals in this one now as well.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a bit of a key to whether Panther City, how far they can go is to make sure that that not only Knox but Ryan Sheridan are involved in the game, and at least putting up secondary scorer type numbers every game.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to see Matt Ugoche get catch fire though. He just it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Yep.
But I am pretty sure that it will.
Yeah, and they have
the busiest guy in the arena was the announcer.
Certainly, and they have their schedule is a bit wonky too. They're at Philly, then they're at Halifax, and then they have Buffalo, and that's probably within the window where Matt Vince is still, not necessarily cleared to play or back on the active roster. So that's potentially a game they could steal. But after that it gets a little more bumpy. They're at San Diego, then they host Philly in the back end of the 2-game series.
Right.
Hosting Albany, who might have things 1 or 2 seed wrapped up by then, because Albany and Toronto still have to play, and that's kind of going to be the next big, like San Diego Toronto was the game. This weekend, when that weekend comes, that's going to be the big one. And then they finish at Calgary. So, but right now they're sitting in that 3-way tie kind of for 6th place with Buffalo and Calgary. And none of those teams have played each other, those 3 teams. Buffalo still needs to play Calgary. Buffalo still needs to play Panther City. Panther City still needs to play Calgary. And those are all one-off meetings. So that's going to be those are three. If you want to circle some games upcoming on the calendar, those are three big games.
Right.
Five,
Well, let's have a look at the games coming up this week. And, again, we have another huge week that runs through 3 days worth of things. Vancouver and Albany. We're going to see just how good Vancouver is now. You knocked off the Bandits. Let's see if you can, be the Giant Killers and knock off Albany. Kind of what Vegas had been doing. The only Giant that they didn't knock off was Toronto for Vegas. Calgary and Georgia. Now there's a good one. And again, two really quick teams in Georgia Friday night. The home Georgia announcers.
That's fun.
Oh, it's worth the price of admission for that one.
Shawn, are we just going to sign?
Yeah, I think that's Gary's game. Yep.
I think
that's Gary's game. Yep.
That's Gary's recaps for the rest of the year.
All Georgia now.
Home game.
Georgia all the time. Perfect. Oh man, I can make it from the West Coast to here, but I'll make it through. All right, so on to Friday night further, and Saskatchewan comes into Buffalo. We talked about this briefly. This is a big test for both teams. It's a big test to see about the Bandits' defense. It's a big test to see if this was not a fluke and that Saskatchewan can actually maintain that kind of offensive thrust. And Scigliano with that kind of goaltending prowess. There's a lot of ifs on this game here. This is a game that, in my eyes, is one of the games of the week.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%. I think for Saskatchewan, who needs a win, Buffalo's ripe for the picking right now.
Yeah. If you're going to do it, this is the time.
Yep.
Can you believe we're saying that? Buffalo's right for the picking. Did anyone think they were going to say that at all this season?
Well, like I said, did anyone think that the two finals? That's what I was saying. Did any of us think that Colorado and Buffalo, the two finalists, are
for the last 2 years in a row,
could miss the playoffs?
Both of them.
They could be.
Both of them.
If you're not careful, they could actually be 14 and 15.
Yeah.
Possibly.
It's not out of the realm. 98% won't happen, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities in Vegas odds. So
and maybe that goes to we've talked about it before, probably in the off season, but just the grind of the season and taking a team that's getting to all the way to the championship or the finals. And both of these teams have been in the finals the last 2 years, and that much playing and getting that deep into the season.
The difference is, though, that the last time Buffalo was in this and they were long in the tooth, Kilgore was still their coach and GM, and he had traded all of their first-round picks for a number of years. So when Chugger took over, he had nothing really to work with and had to make a slow build and slowly built it to this. This time around, they do have first-round picks and other things to bolster and move things around. So do I expect to see some movement and some other things in the offseason? Yeah. Do I expect to see much more at trade deadline? That depends really on this week.
Yeah. And to your point,
I was going to say, I don't feel like there's going to be a whole lot of movement. So, but Buffalo's first-round pick will get better the worse New York performs. So
yeah.
Sorry, Shawn, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say to your point, and we discussed it earlier. They got first round picks and things to work with, but those young guys have to get playing time.
Yeah,
they do.
Absolutely, but just not all at the same time, because you see what's happening. There's a lot of things that are, youthful mistakes.
Yeah,
it's natural growing pains, but we'll see. If Spanger can make it back next game already, that's already one huge pillar.
Absolutely.
Back.
Yeah.
And, Priolo and a few of the other guys in there for guidance. And, that can easily be fixed. So anyways, let's move on. We got Colorado coming in Toronto. We talked about this briefly. Colorado, who has been doing nothing consistent at all this year. Watch them come in and beat Toronto. That's the way the
then maybe they're not sellers at the deadline.
Well, they're still going to have a record that's piss poor, right? But it's just they would have that feather in their cap. But I don't think Toronto after this weekend, and when you saw the smile on Nick Rose's face when I saw him after the game and talked to him, I'm talking about what a great weekend this was. Yeah. And what a lights out second half he had. And, all the other things that were going on. So I just, there's too much veteran leadership and talent there. And now they've had an opportunity to play a lot of the young kids too in a group setting of veteran leadership. So they're getting their feet wet with the guidance, and you see the difference.
Yeah.
So now when Dan Craig and a few of the other guys come back, those options are there. And if they need a night off down the stretch, you're not going to put somebody in who can't handle it. So that already the confidence in the for the coaching staff. Interestingly enough, Bruce Codd didn't make the trip, defensive coordinator for Toronto, and Brandon Miller was behind the bench. So interesting. Just another little tidbit in there. We move over, and Albany is playing Rochester. Now, if this happened last week, I would have Albany in a walk. But I knew that Rochester, they were one of the highest scoring teams in the league, even through their losing streak. You knew that if they could fit this thing together, now if they can get their defense straightened away and not just leave Hutchcraft to do all the work, then we got something. But they can easily run and gun with Albany.
Yeah, and they've had Albany's number lately too. So
so that'd be an interesting one also.
Last couple of
Another
seasons,
one that's worth the price of admission. And if you're anywhere near the Rochester area, Buffalo fans too, you're playing Friday. You have plenty of time to do an hour drive to Rochester and fill that barn. Moving in,
and that's a double header for Albany too. So
yeah. So prime for the picking if there's going to be one, right?
Yep.
Vegas heads over to New York, and this one's interesting. Both teams have looked great. Both teams have looked terrible. Which one faces which? I hope whichever one is the other one is too, so we have a good game.
Yeah.
Either a high or a low-scoring game. It would be terrible if one gets it together and the other one doesn't, because that will be a blowout. All right, Halifax and San Diego, another pivotal game. San Diego definitely wants to make a mark here. Halifax is going in. Now, here's the difficult one. It's 3 time zones. It's 4 time zones.
Yeah.
So hopefully that they are smart enough to get themselves together. But a number of their guys are Toronto firemen. So, they're be on minimal amount of time, and, 3 time zones. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
You too can look like this. I question for Rubish is, how do you do this every single week? Isn't that like hard on the body? Yeah, it's a grind. Same thing, right? But just to travel alone, especially when you're on the East Coast and playing West Coast games, week in, week out, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for San Diego, and they have a lot of guys that are East Coast guys. So, for them to be this efficient, that says a lot about the talent on that team. All right, we move, and we have a Sunday game, and that is Panther City going into Philadelphia. Kind of odd. Usually it's the Panther City with the Sunday game, but they still get to play it. They just have to travel for it now. Over to the city of brotherly love.
Yeah, and another pivotal one. Obviously a chance for Philly to jump into the playoff picture. And maybe,
but Panther City, with the exception of their defense today, and I attribute some of that to the tough game they played against San Diego on Friday.
Yep.
But they have been looking real good.
They have been.
And the mood and net has looked really good as well.
Lights out.
Yeah. So you get a rested defense, a strong mood, a Crawford-led offense, and Philly has the work cut out for them at home.
Yeah.
In front of the Sunday afternoon church crowd.
Yeah, and just one quick note I want to make, just in taking a look at some of the ahead of the schedules.
Eduardo's already at it.
Oh, jeez. we talked about how kind of the front end of the whole regular season schedule was a little front loaded with buys. Going the rest of the way, we're looking at Buffalo, Vancouver, Las Vegas, Philadelphia, Rochester, Saskatchewan. No more buys the rest of the way. They're playing every single week from here on out.
That's grueling.
And some of them have double headers.
Yeah,
I know
that's
Saskatchewan
yeah.
does. Yeah.
really grueling.
Week 16, Colorado gets a bye. Week 20, Georgia and Halifax get a bye. And then week 18, that's kind of the one light week. There's only 4 games. So Albany, Calgary, Colorado, Georgia, New York, Panther City, San Diego, Toronto all have buys. But that's it for buys. The rest for like the entire league for the rest of the regular season.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So,
well, you knew this was going to come because we talked about it way back when teams were playing 4 games in 9 weeks. You know, that this is going to be stupid down the stretch.
Yeah, when we had said two weeks ago that we were only halfway through in terms of number of games played. Just in the past 2 weeks, we've gone through a quarter of those remaining games.
Right.
So,
there you go. Well, I want to thank everybody for being with us week in, week out. God knows we put in the effort. I'm stick around for a while now and maybe unpack.
Yeah.
And actually stick around for a little bit, and maybe spend a week here before I have to go to Hamilton.
Yeah, I was going to say, before you know it, tomorrow will be Friday. So
yeah,
we're running the gamut again. But again, I want to thank everybody that follows us and is with us every step of the way. We love doing this for you, and we're very proud to do this for you. And please come to our Facebook page. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on Thread. We're on YouTube as well. Lots of stuff on YouTube, even more coming up this week. By all means, please let your friends know, let your family know, let the guy down the street know, let the guy standing at the corner know that they need to subscribe to our YouTube channel because, again, lots of extra tools that we can show a whole lot more for you and get you more things to get you equipped. And with everything going on and more things coming, it's going to be a busy stretch. I get to rest for a few weeks, and before you know it, it's the end of April, and I'm off to Prague for the next excursion. So we're all primed and ready for all that. Well, guys, gotta admit, I'm tired. Guido, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. I love doing this.
Thanks, Guido.
Thanks for the support.
Appreciate that. Am I jet lagged? Not yet. Too tired to be jet lagged. Okay, Eduardo. Jesus, I was trying to get
jeez.
Yeah.
You guys want those numbers? Did you? I've got them here.
Pat, Gary, and Shawn went 5 and 4. Muffler Mike went 6 and 3. I'm surprised he's not rubbing our faces in it. I'm sorry, Eduardo.
I'm not. I'm mad. I'm mad. PC lost, and I'm mad. Colorado lost. So
4 and 5 for Eduardo. To date, Shawn is still leading, 51 and 33. Pat, 49 and 35. Eduardo is right behind him, 47 and 37. I am there at 45 and 39. And then Muffler Mike is coming up at 41 and 43. It's coming up there.
Gary's heels there.
Yeah, well, I keep doing my thing there, a whole lot of nothing. Three time zones. It's also that the plane was delayed and, and then, of course, getting through customs and trying to get a cab and trying to get here on time to make it work. And all the messages these guys had to endure from me because I had Wi-Fi on the plane so I could give them the blow-by-blow of what we're doing. So I appreciate that their patience with me and me trying to make all this work because it started at 4:30 in the morning for me with an Air Canada email, and from that point on, I tried to make it work that we could get this thing rolling, and this was about as seamless as it could possibly be. So I thank these guys again, Mike, Shawn, Pat as well, Al, for the support, and it worked. It worked. We made it. We go back to 9:00 Eastern next week, and that'll be there for a while until the Prague thing, and then we'll see how that one works. But up until the beginning of May, or end of April will be 9 o'clock on Sundays. Don't forget to tell your friends and family about it. And let's really knock this thing out of the park. Let's get as much viewership as we can. Because, again, there's a lot of stuff coming up. Remember, we have ALL playoffs about to take place. We have the NLL down in the home stretch. We have the PLL going to be starting up, and the MSL and WLA going to be starting up very soon because we're already in March now. That's just around the corner. We have the Rubeski tournament. We have a few other things going on, as well as all the other news and reviews, trade deadlines, and everything else. So don't forget to come back to us 3, 4, 5 times a day on our Facebook page where things are right up to date, right up to the moment. Our fingers are on the pulse of the situation, as always. We appreciate your patronage. I can't tell you, I can't put into words how appreciative we are of all the support and everything that we do. Any last words? I'll start with you, Shawn.
No, just looking forward to next week. Some big games coming up.
Absolutely. Mike, any big last words?
Yeah, I mean, we're 2/3 of the way through the season, week-wise now, and we already talked about Buffalo, Calgary, Panther City are 6, 7, 8 with losing records. The next 6 teams are all 1 win behind, and then Vancouver's in last place, only 2 wins behind. So,
right.
No one's out of it. And I'll admit, 2 weeks ago I said Vancouver was cooked. And now there are only 2 games in the win column out of a potential playoff spot with
amazing how this works.
7 games left on their schedule and some favorable schedules. So,
and as a reminder, everybody, the next set of retro games are ready to go in to get moved over there. So again, get onto our YouTube page as well. Thank you, Eduardo. Appreciate that. That would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
You can have a cheesesteak with Pat.
Just one.
Yeah.
Another world traveler. Me personally, I just want to kick back and have a salty. Yeah, just kick back. But me personally, I'm interested, as all can be, about the moves that are coming up in this week and more next week with the trade deadline coming and with the separation happening and teams that have more or less written off this season and are looking towards the future. So you could see some big names going across to get some heavy duty draft picks because the next couple of drafts are going to be really, really rich. So you can build back up in a hurry if you do things correctly and have the right picks at the right spots. So I'm very, very curious to see how all that works. Oh yeah, Eduardo, when you're in Philly, don't forget to see Brian. He'll be wearing his new Marvel Comics Wings jersey. So
yeah, and just one more reminder too with that trade deadline. If Colorado does decide they're going to be sellers, that benefits the Riptide because they have Colorado's first-round pick.
There you go.
From the Tyson Gibson trade. So
that's going to be interesting too. So there's going to be a lot of maneuvering and a lot
relocation coming with a high first-round draft pick. That'll be something to see.
Well, that's a marketing point too, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
They're getting the people in the PN and around there, all ready to rock and roll. Anyways, it's time to move on, guys.
And into your bed. Your bed.
Yes.
For some well-earned rest.
For Muffler Mike over in Connecticut and for Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw, I'm Gary Groob, who is now sitting in Toronto. Comfortably in something that's not moving. Wish you all the best for a really strong week. Keep your stick in your hands. And don't forget to check us out daily for all the news and reviews. And until next week, take care. And we'll see you 9 o'clock next Sunday.